right, welcome back to another episode of 6th grade math. So we are going to be working with inequalities again. And remember, inequalities are an alligator mouse. But today specifically, we are going to be solving and graphing. So to solve for inequalities for an unknown variable, remember our variables are just our letter. So it's the same process as solving equations. We are going to use inverse operations. So go ahead and fill that in, inverse operations. So remember, inverse is the opposite. So what's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. What's the opposite of subtracting? Is adding. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. And the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So we're going to use that same process. We do need to know, though, when graphing, we have two different types of circles. So when we have a closed circle, so when that circle is shaded in, those are going to be our alligator mouse that have the equal sign. So I like to think the alligators have two pieces. They have the alligator and the equal. So not only do you have to draw the circle, but you have to shade it in. So 2 steps. For the open circle, we just have the regular alligators. So you only draw the outline. So it's just 1 step. So that's kind of how I like to remember it. So let's graph X, and then we need to be able to read this right here. So think about, who is your alligator eating? He is eating the 5. So that means X is smaller. So I would read this, X is less than 5. So we need to be able to read that. So we're going to go to the 5, and since we have a circle that's just, or we have an alligator that's just an alligator, we're going to have an open circle. So we are finding our match right here. We just have an open circle. And then my X, which can be anything I want, has to be less than 5. So if I put a 6, is 6 less than 5? No, it's not. So I have to have everything below 5 shaded, because these are all of my possible answers. So anything in this shaded section I could plug in. So I could plug in 0. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, it is. That works. Is -5 less than 5? Yes, it is. So anything in my shaded part can be an X. Nothing that's not shaded can't. So that's why we also don't have the circle shaded, because 5 is not less than 5. So 5 doesn't count. It's below 5. All right, and then let's look at this one. So on this one, my alligator is facing this way. So this one is telling me X is greater, or, since we have that line, greater or equal to 5. So we're going to go to 5 again, but this time, since we have the equal sign, we're going to draw the circle and shade it in. And then my X has to be greater than 5, so I'm going to go bigger. So all of these are possibly answers that I could plug in. This could be a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I plug any of those in, is 6 greater than or equal to 5? Yes, it is. I could even put 5 this time because it has an equal sign. So any of these would be my X. All right, let's go to the inside. We're actually going to practice solving inequalities now. So we have solved equations. Inequalities are the same steps. We just have an alligator mouth instead. So on this one, I'm going to draw my line down my inequality. Our inequality does not change. So that's a good way to get rid of Joe Schmoes. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it down, and I want to get the X by itself. So I'm going to circle the 15. Remember, we cannot circle the plus sign because that plus sign goes with my X. So I am doing the opposite of a positive 15. What is the opposite of a positive 15? Negative 15, or minus, same thing. So I have X is greater than, and then I do 6 minus 15. Can we do 6 minus 15? No. So negative, and then 15 minus 6 is 9. So this would be my final answer. Okay, so to graph, let me erase this arrow so we can see that a little better. To graph, I'm going to go to -9 because I have -9. So on my -9, I need to decide, is my circle going to be open or closed? My alligator mouth tells me. So my alligator is just the alligator, so it is open. Okay, and then I need to decide, am I greater than or less than? So let's go back and read our inequality. So is my x greater or less than -9? If my alligator is eating this side, it is greater. And if our answer has to be greater, we have to go this way on the number line. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, -13.5 plus c is less than or equal to 21. So again, I'm going to draw my line, bring down my inequality, make sure you keep that equal sign on it. And this time, my c is on this side with a -13.5. So this one's really important. Again, that positive goes with the c. So I'm not doing the opposite of adding, I'm doing the opposite of -13.5. So what is the opposite of -13.5? Positive 13.5. C is left, and then when I add decimals, I need to line them up. 13.5. Bring it down, so 34.5. Okay, so that is my final answer. So I'm going to find 34.5. It's not on the number line, but I know 0.5 is right in the middle of 34 and 35. So it would be right here in the middle of those two. Looking at our alligator, we have the equal sign. So not only do we draw the circle, but we shade it in as well because it can equal 34.5. And now we need to read this and think, is it bigger or smaller? So the alligator's eating this side this time, so C is less or equal. But most important, it is less. And if we're less, we are going this way. Okay, next one. 3k is greater than or equal to -15. A line on our inequality. Draw your symbol. Okay, number next to a letter. I know that's multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying would be dividing by 3. So I have k is greater than or equal to, I notice I have a negative, and I'm dividing, so integer man. 15 divided by 3 would give me -5. So on this number line, I have 0, -10, and hopefully we know what's in the middle of 0 and -10. It would be -5. So looking at my alligator, I have an equal sign. So not only am I drawing my circle, I am also shading it. And then we need to read it. Is k greater than or less than? It is greater this time. Greater or equal. So if it's greater, we have to shade this way. All right, let's go to the other side. Okay, this one seems to have been bothering us recently. So bring down your alligator. Okay, what am I moving? 20. And then we have to ask ourselves, what is happening? What does a fraction mean to do? Divide. So the opposite would be multiply. So we would have f, and then 6 times 20 is 120. So on the number line, we have 120. I only have just a regular alligator, so open circle. And then we need to ask ourselves, is f bigger or smaller? It's smaller or less. So we would be shading this way. All right. This is how you're actually going to see it tested. Okay, which number line represents the solution to x over 1.5 is less than 2? So we have to solve first. That's the most important part. So I'm going to solve, and I have room here, so I'm going to bring down my alligator. I'm moving 1.5, so this is what we just did. So I'd be timesing 1.5. So x, and then I already did that multiplication for us. It's 3. So my circle has to be on 3. So if you're looking, A is on 3, on 3, on 3. So we need to figure out what kind of circle. So if it's just the regular alligator, it needs to be open. So B is closed because that would have to have a line. Okay, and then we need to decide, are we going smaller or bigger? So let's go back and look. Is X smaller or bigger? It is smaller in this one because it's eating this side. So if my answer is smaller, it would have to be A because this one would be getting bigger. All right, last one. So this time we're going the opposite way. They gave me a picture. We need to find the match. So if you can see, I have a circle and it's shaded. So that means we need a line. So A and C are out. They're both on -3, which is good. And then we need to see, we're going this way, so that would be smaller. So we need our answer to have X being less than. Which one shows X is less than? It is B, because this says X is less than -3. And that's how you could see this tested.